Slinger has the lowest kill rate in all of Dead by Daylight, sitting at a rate of 46.88%. This surprised me because I feel like Slinger is an okay killer. Yeah, he takes aim, but like, so does Huntress. Wait, hold on. I'm getting a phone call. Hello? What? Huntress also has a low kill rate? Well, what about Trickster, huh? Still under 50%? What about Springtrap? Ha! What about him? He takes aim. He doesn't count for this video? Why not? Oh, I gotcha. Alright, change of plans, fam. Today's video was gonna be just about Slinger, but as I was doing my research, I noticed a pattern, something that is very important to Dead by Daylight's core, something that needs to be called out and talked about. But before I just tell you what it is and end my video, I need my video to be longer. I need my 10 minutes. Let me talk about Slinger first. Now, Slinger having the lowest kill rate kind of surprised me, especially considering that he's the 14th most played killer. So why don't we just look into his kit, see what the problem could be. Slinger has a gun. America! And after aiming his gun, which takes a second to shoot, a harpoon comes out. It's a harpoon gun, and it has travel time and travels with like what, 18 meters? I'm not entirely too sure. It's got to be more than 5. Then he has to reel them in to get the M1 hit, and after every shot hit or miss, he has to reload. You know, it just keeps it kind of fair. He loses some distance in return for his really strong looping power. Makes sense. But how does he have the lowest kill rate in Dead by Daylight? Well, first we got to see how Behavior has been treating our boy. Our cowboy, if you will. Slinger's like first major nerf was they got rid of his quick scope. For new players, yes, back in the day this nigga had quick draw, but they removed that and gave him an animation for aiming down sights and putting the gun back down, which made sense because having a Huntress hatchet without the windup was very good, and sometimes not even sometimes, most of the time it just didn't even feel fair to play against, so they took away the quick draw. Slinger also used to have a 24-meter tear radius, and with his 18-meter gunshot range, it made him pretty good at sneaking up on people getting close enough for his gun, and he would like it was just dangerous. Then they nerfed him and gave him a 36-meter tear radius instead. Like, what? To any long-term like Slinger main or somebody just has a lot of knowledge on Dead by Daylight watching this video, is there a reason they changed his tear radius? Now he's just way easier to see coming, and having a running head start against a 4.4 killer is a lot of leeway. More leeway than most. And that's pretty much it for the rest of his nerfs. He's gotten like another nerf here or there, but he's gotten quite a bit of buffs. Quite a bit of buffs. Like buffs to his faster reload time, less stun, faster when reloading, you know, stuff like that. He's got some buffs going for him, but honestly, he's also just another one of those killers that suffer from the same problem other killers do. Add-ons are garbage, except for a few, like reduced reload time, reduced cooldown on miss, like those are pretty good. But then we have terror radius reduced by 4 meters while aiming down sights. He has a higher rarity add-on that does the same thing, but it does it by 8 meters. You know when he walks slower than survivors when he's ADSing, right? You can still see him coming, and his gun is only 18 meters, so you could still run away before he even gets close enough. Like, what are these add-ons really meant for? Are they meant for sneaking up? Because they're fucking ass. He wouldn't even be in range to get to use his gun before survivors could pre-run and just give massive distance. And did you guys know there's also an audible warning whenever Slinger is aiming his gun at you whenever he's ADSing? But even with his shitty add-ons, I firmly believe his power is still strong. He doesn't really even need add-ons with his power. But if that's the case, why does he have the lowest kill rate in DBD currently? I know what it is, we all know what it is, and it all comes down to one word: mobility. Everybody drink your water. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Slinger is one of, if not the least mobile character in the game. Only killers that could be like less mobile than him are like Huntress, since she has to reload, and Hag, since she has to put down traps. And since he has to reload after every single shot, it's almost impossible for him to easily pressure a whole team, since not only once about every 5 seconds can he actually like really do anything, but there's ADS speed and the projectile from the gun, so it's dodgeable. And not being so serious, like mobility is the strongest asset a killer could have in this game. Let me just name a few killers. Nerfs, Blight, Singularity, Kaneki, Dracula, you know, those are some pretty good killers, right? All of them are S tier or high AT killers that have insane mobility. But more interesting, let's look at the last 10 released killers. Well, let's look at the last 9 released killers. Springtrap, Kaneki, Singularity, Xenomorph, Chucky, Unknown Lich, Dracula, and Houndmaster. All of these killers, except for one, which is Chucky, has a map-wide teleport or an ability that gives them really good mobility. Why is that? Trickster, Ghostface, Doctor, Hag, Michael, and most of all Slinger, they all struggle with one thing, which is pressuring a whole team. These powers are good in the 1v1, but the second they have to pressure more than one survivor, they can really struggle. Except for maybe Hag. Maybe take away Hag, because if it's a good Hag with good traps, she she can pressure a whole team. But anyways, this might sound weird, but let me change the subject really quick. Right now, the strongest thing a killer can do is slug. Slugging is strong, slugging and tunneling. But why is that? It's because there's not too much of an incentive to hooking that much unless you're running 4 gen regression perks and 3 of them need to be activated by hooking. And then in that case, the killer's gonna hook a survivor, go kick all the gens, go back and tunnel the same survivor. But during that time while you're picking up hooking and as Huntress or Deathslinger, you have to reload, gens are getting done, survivors are healing, you can't get over to them fast enough. And if you're a killer like Deathslinger with no mobility, then walking your 36 meter loud 4.4 limping ass to a generator it's just gonna get done before you get there, bro. And these gen regression perks are better used on higher mobility killers anyways. And it's so easy to pressure a gen and pressure gens. It's so easy to activate your gen regression perks when you're playing fucking Blight or Kaneki. So what could possibly be the solution to this? Well, one time I was on TikTok, I was in a comment section just reading stuff, people were talking about stuff, and one thing they said really did make a lot of sense to me. Let me try to explain, because this is all from memory. Let me try to remember exactly what it was. You know those Blight serum add-ons from like an event like 4 fucking years ago? Some people were mentioning those could become base kit, and I honestly thought that would be a great idea, but there's one issue. Do we really want to give Nerfs, Blight, and Kaneki, Dracula, or even Springtrap a whole Blight rush for free? But what about a movement speed bonus that would go away if you started using your killer's power? I'm not sure. Do you want Blight running across the map at 125% speed, then when it gets to you, can activate Dead Man Switch, hit you with a regular hit, and then have 5 rushes to get you again? Or Nerfs walking across the map at 4.4 or 4.6 till she finds somebody and she still has her blinks? Do you want Kaneki to walk across the map at 125% speed? Kaneki ain't even a top 5 killer anymore and survivors still hate him. So why would we give a buff to every killer if it's mostly gonna give an advantage to this killer? How about we make it so it activates after a hook and they lose speed once they leave 30 meters away from the hook? Well, what if the killer is proxy camping, finds a survivor nearby? Now you have a Blight running at 130% speed, gets the M1 and then uses his rushes and gets the survivor down in 4 seconds. It doesn't sound that fair to me at all. So what could we do? Maybe after the killer gets a hook, if they immediately start walking away, they get haste that disappears if you start using an ability, start walking back to hook, or start chase with a survivor. I think that would honestly be a really good change, but again, Blight Nerfs Kaneki Spirit with speed boosts on top of their strong powers, I don't know. But how about we make it so it only affects killers that are 4.6? Well, that would help a lot of killers like Trapper, Skull Merchant, Doctor, Michael, and other 4.6 killers like Unknown, Alien, Dredge, and Unreal could use it, but they don't even need to use it since they have teleports, so I think it's a win-win. But what about Deathslinger? Literally, what about Deathslinger? Literally, Huntress, Chucky, and Spirit are like, aren't they like the only 4.4 killers? But with Huntress's ability to throw hatches across the map and shred through teams' health states, I feel like she wouldn't really need it. And Chucky is super good in chase but has no mobility, so I could see him using it. And Spirit is almost completely unfair in chase, so she definitely doesn't need it. But that only leaves one 4.4 killer that wouldn't be able to use it. Deathslinger. Behavior already made Trickster 4.6 and he's a projectile killer. Houndmaster is a 4.6 projectile killer. So what if we made Deathslinger a 4.6 projectile killer? Would that be too strong? I can't say for certain. He still wouldn't be fucking stronger than Blight. So unless we want every killer in the future to come out with mobility, I feel like the killers that don't have mobility need to have something, like a haste that happens after hooking. It would help all the weaker killers, and it wouldn't benefit the stronger ones almost at all. And it would help incentivize hooking instead of slugging. But with what I came up with would help every killer except for Deathslinger, so I don't know. What are my conclusions? When it comes to balancing, I'm not the best. I mean both sides pretty equally. I play Survivor a little bit more though. So the first thing I think about before changing a killer to make them stronger is how it affects both sides and how fun it would be for both sides. In my opinion, this change of haste whenever Survivor gets hooked would be a great change. Strong killers like Kaneki and Blight wouldn't even need to use it since they already have movement abilities. It would benefit killers that are 4.6, and killers that have teleports could use it but they don't even need it, so it would just be like an added bonus. So it would benefit the other killers that we would want to see more, or killers that we don't see often like Bubba or Doctor. And for Deathslinger, I'm not too sure as I don't play him too often. If you're a Deathslinger main, you have some ideas, put them down in the comments, but let me put some of mine. But I feel like making him a 4.6 killer could work. Huntress can pressure a whole team and shred health states, so her being 4.4 does make sense. Making Trickster 4.6 was a good change because even though he shreds through health states with main event, other than that, he cannot pressure a whole team. And he doesn't have one projectile, he has to hit multiple knives for one health state, opposed to Huntress on one shot equals one health state. But that's where the tricky part comes in. Deathslinger is the only ranged killer that can knock down over pallets. Pyramid Head, Unknown, Bed Springs, Huntress, Trickster, Nemo, Artist, Dracula, even Houndmaster can throw her dog over the pallet, redirect the dog, break the pallet, and get the hit on you. Deathslinger is the only ranged killer that can knock down over pallets. Yeah, he can on windows, and he honestly makes windows more unsafe than almost every other killer, other than like Nemesis, but the down is what matters most. So along with hook bonus for hooking, if we're not going to make Deathslinger a 4.6, he needs to be able to down over pallets. So what I'm thinking is if the Deathslinger shoots you while you're starting the vault animation, or like a little less than halfway through the vault animation, he can reel you back in over the pallet. This would force you to actually look behind you and read and react to what the Deathslinger is doing, instead of just pre-dropping pallets and vaulting pallets knowing damn well you're safe, when against every other ranged killer you're not safe. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Is just mobility has gotten real strong in this game. Out of the last 15 killers, like 10 of them have mobility powers, or mobility like chase powers, or a map-wide teleport. And it's obvious that some of these killers in the past that don't have teleports, or any killers that are going to come out in the future without teleports, are going to struggle because they have no mobility whatsoever. Mobility is really, really, really important in this game. Kaneki is literally just Legion, but they have mobility and they're a top 10 killer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, mobility can literally bring a killer from F tier to S tier. Literally. So I believe if we add a haste bonus to hooks, obviously if you go far away it disappears, you start chase it disappears, you use an ability it disappears, that would just help majority of the killers that don't have mobility. Not even majority, it will help every killer that doesn't have mobility. I don't think it would be that hard to balance or that hard to add. So other than a haste bonus for hooking to probably get to a generator faster, I think Deathslinger needs to either reel you in over the pallet if you're not even halfway through the animation or you just started it, or we need to make Deathslinger 4.6. Yeah, his add-ons are pretty mid, but I feel like his add-ons aren't the issue. And yeah, I feel like behavior needs to add some type of haste thing for M1 killers, or killers that have no mobility whatsoever, because eventually it's going to get to a point where instead of giving every killer a little bit of mobility, behavior is going to start nerfing maps for survivors so other killers can actually keep up, or they're gonna make maps huge because we have so many killers with mobility that the killers with no mobility are just gonna be destined to lose every single match. This won't happen anytime soon, but I feel like this could be a road we're going down if it doesn't get addressed soon. But I digress. It's just my opinion. I'm just yapping. So let me know what you guys think. If you have any ideas, put them down in the comments below. And if you're a Deathslinger main and you think my ideas are fucking stupid and I should probably like die and like give up making YouTube, I'm never reaching 10,000 subscribers, then put it down in the comments below. I would love to talk about it. Thank you guys so much for the support on the channel. Road to 10K. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you have a good day.
It started when we were younger.